Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Luke, 1956. How you doing, son? Gary, many people steaming on board. That's what I like to see. I'm going to do two things tonight, if I can, that is. Because doing more than one thing tends to confuse me. I'm getting old. I had someone ask me yesterday, and they was being polite. They said, "Do you know you keep jumping from one conversation to another? Like I'm trying to work out what you're talking about because you've jumped from one thing to another." He said, "I don't want you to take this personally." He said, "But you on drugs or something?" I said, "No. Apart from I'm living in Devon near the moors and I suffer from hay fever, so I'm dropping like anti-hay fever tablets, and then I get to in the evening when it's hot and all that, and then my brain is like fried from the heat." But there you go. That's just one of the things I thought I'd tell you about, Mud. Oh, wait. So let me just make sure. I'll get these things. Now, before I get on to this, and we're going to go through Houseby's Laws of England, 4th edition, you make constitutional law. The reason why I'm showing you this is because, one, if you get hold of a copy of this book, this is just one of the Houseby's. The other one is the statutes. But I do want to show you something. So you know when I go along and do my seminars that I'm showing you the right stuff, right? So you understand it's all comes from these books. And it is from the view of the realm who has been in a large degree by the state in university, right? They all something that's not quite true, but this book gets some of it wrong. And I'm not suggesting. What I'm saying is, if you went back even 50 years before this book was in print, it's right. So who changed it and why changed it? Why was it changed? And the answer is we lost the Second World War, right? And it was the Soviet infiltration and especially Clement Attlee, which I was going to probably show you some. Let me just make sure. I want everyone to know I will be at the Thetford Truth Festival. Was it Thetford Truth and
Truth
Festival? If anyone wants to send me that link, and I'll bring it up on the screen to make sure. But I want people to. But before I do, I want to make sure that everyone sees this. Now, I'll play this, and then I'm going to give you my response. I've actually pinned it, and the link to the pin on that people. I'm just going to give you a brief because have sent me details and said, "Is there anything you can do?" Actually, no. We got members in Burnley, and someone wanted to go along there, and they said, "Is there anything I can say?" I went, "Yeah, there is." Up on this is Twitter.
Hey, okay. I hope you're tonight. Anyways, phone call an hour or two since from another Burnley Borough councillor who graciously informed me that there will be allegedly a motion brought forward to remove me as a chairman of audits and standards at the council because I've shown anybody? No. Is it sure because I've shown bias towards any political party? No. Simple fact of the matter is, we want to sign. Don't get me wrong. I'm all for debate. I'm all for basically doing the right thing. Certainly, it is not right. Here in Burnley right now, and we're actually gaining traction. And they don't like that. So there we go. Wednesday evening. Get yourself down to Burnley Town Hall. Starts at 5 o'clock in the evening. Come down, have a look at democracy. Apparently, democracy in action. Because this certainly is not. Take care. Have a great evening.
I said earlier to a number of people, but what I am going to do is prong it. So what I brought up on the screen is this, and I sent it out earlier on. Be clear, you have an English constitutional right, domestic constitution, English Bill of Rights 1688, and international convention rights. This is in full force for both local and parliamentary elections, right? Now, this is, I'm not sure whether they're trying to remove him not as a as the and there are things you in any way discriminate in this case. One, this is crucial, everyone understands. Article 8 of the English Bill of Rights is in full force, freedom of election. Two, suffrage. You have the right to stand and be elected and not be the right to government by one universal suffrage, UN Declaration, Article 21, and Human Rights Convention, Protocol 1, Article 3. So the English and other in a few things. You also have not to be discriminated against for being English or ethnicity. Now, what's important about universal suffrage is and you right, or should do. It's your absolute right. They can't take it off you. But what's really important is that right is completely disposed of, or a right in name only, if they don't give you someone to vote for parts of universal suffrage. And there is the other side, which is the electorate itself. So to have that right, you must also have the right for a candidate to stand in an election and take up the positions in the council or in parliament that the party take up point of election. And what I'm going to go back to, hopefully this first and cross. Let's get off. So if anyone wants to see that and send it out, copy link. I'll cross to that now, and then we're going to steam straight into showing what I'm going to do probably tomorrow evening. Is I'll go further through the other book. If I can bring this up so one can see it. Is everyone seeing and hearing me? We'll soon see how many people tune in tomorrow night, won't we? Eh? I'm not watching the football. I don't watch, and it's not. It's my personal. Don't like. I don't care. It's my personal opinion, not any. So what I'm going to do now is switch this camera to my Ovocol camera and show you this. Because of it, we showed that. At the moment, but I will some of it. But there, this is cool. And then it gives you general of powers, property, excess of Duties and rights subject 827 is what I'm in a couple of. And then it goes royal family, tells you all about the royal family, the crown and the prerogative. That's very interesting. But we're going to, it will tell you what the elements are. So 827, let me see if I can go and find this. I'm sure it was 827 and find wait, right? So here, hopefully you can see this. Now I'm hoping everyone did everyone see the Crypto Rich video that was released today, which was quite funny. So listen, I ain't got a problem with EM, but it definitely about family. His whole family compare. If he believes that the royal family has been captured, I do believe it is possible that Queen Elizabeth II was captured, right? And the reason I think that is because I think her father, at the age of, I think it was 56, died of heart attack. He was ill. He'd been smoking. He had lung cancer, so they say. All ever since cancer. He died. Bearing in mind, George VI, I think he was. The warning. So if you think about the communists winning, Clement Attlee then being in charge, there was a lot going on. And then all of a sudden, a young queen is put in that place with people surrounding her who were evil advisors and counsellors. She could have most definitely believe it different. He should be for it. Whilst I see my excusing, she should have and even looking to find she wasn't the coup people. I find it very with King Charles actually in the fact that he married a Catholic and National Fact gone against his personal truth. There's lots of things I don't accept it. Let's get back to this. See if I can pull this so to make sure you can see this clearly. I wonder if I can get that over a bit more. Hopefully you can see that. Can everyone see that? Let's see if I can down a bit further. Duties and rights of the subject. 827. Active duties of the subject. Now this is pure constitutional rights and common law rights. Active duties of the subject. The ordinary citizen is in principle served if called upon to do this. He will now be called on exceptional circumstances. Thus, although the maintenance of order is professional forces, every citizen is under a duty to assist in quelling of disturbances and the maintenance of the Queen's peace, which is citizens' right. In other words, people who are committed to known as warden watchers. So we can still do the function of the police. If they're not doing the right job, we can do it. That's where currently you see a number of paedophile hunters that they to paedophile and police come along, come up. They're very skilled in what they do. And if a person refuses to accede to the request of a magistrate, a sheriff, or a constable to assist in preserving the peace, he commits an offence at common law. So if you don't do that, you're actually committing an offence if you're asked to help the police. Qualified persons may be compelled to serve on duties is related to death and may return for the purpose of registering electors for the compilation of the annual. Let's see, turn this over. And for purposes of taxation and local rate. Or guardian duty to attend duties on person voluntarily in occupations. Thus, employers of labour have to make returns for Act, National Insurance Act, so to collect pay other items of taxation, right? PA. The duties with the exception of the arising from the service of armed forces or civil capacity, right? But there's lots of information in here I could go through. Hopefully, right, and then try and get the bits that are more relevant than not, right? So, liberties of the subject. The principle subject or do he pleases, provided he does not transgress substantial or or others, right? That's where no law, no injury, no where public authorities in a crown do nothing, they are authorised by some rule of common law in the royal prerogative. There's a whole section which is really interesting. Or statute, where public authorities are not authorised to interfere with, he has liberties. It follows that, apart from the general provisions ensuring the peaceful enjoyment of rights of property, the freedom of the legal arrest, taxation, or state between the subject of in any law is sovereign. Subject possess guaranteed rights, such are guaranteed by the citizen. Let me get this over a bit. All right, this is why I'm saying to you that this book contradicts itself. Right, foreign constitutions. It is well understood that the liberties are highly prized, and that in consequence, Parliament is to pass legislation serious interference with them. Moreover, a person who alleges that he without success all enemies may have the European Court for redress, right? Well, that's bollocks because you've got it here. But just making sure you understand this. This is the footnote. The law of England is the law of liberty. R.V. Corbett, 1809. This is where I'm saying if you go back in time, but who changed this? Well, most of these changes happened after the Second World War. And again, what I'm doing is going straight to this point number 4. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. Magna of Ed 7. So anyway, particularly chapter 29. The petition of right 67, which is shaped. The 1880 so what do we keep talking about is the Bill of Rights and the Act of Settlement, right? And there's two reasons. One is because, and again, I just want to make sure you understand what I mean by preamble, or I shouldn't say preamble. I should say that, and then you is go to the rights and just show you what that is. And the Bill of Rights is here, so I'm looking that up on there, right? So you can see what it actually says. This is really important for people. If you're it's crucially important. You tell a judge, because the judge must take notice of this, right? An act declaring the rights and liberties of the subject, right? It's declaring what they are. The minister's by he was lied to. Part of this is, and I have to take you into not the Triennial Act. Let's see if I can find it. Acts of Settlement. So don't forget, it says it's directing you to all of these. This settlement in William 17. Act for limitation of the Crown, better securing the rights and liberties of the subject, right? So it's really important that people understand that, right? There it is again, just to make sure you get that. An act for the further limitation of the Crown and better securing the rights and liberties of the subject. Now, if I was to go to, because this comes up in this book as well, and I think people need to understand where it comes from. 3, 4, where's 4? 1, 2. I'm looking for 5. There it is. And whereas, right, so don't forget this is the original. And again, I show people this. Right, so there it is. And at section 5, it says, and whereas the laws of England are the birthright of the people thereof, and all the kings and queens who shall ascend the throne of this realm ought to administer the government of the same according to the said laws, and all of their officers and ministers ought to serve them respectively according to the same. The said lords and spirituals and temporal and commons do therefore further humbly pray that all the laws and statutes of this realm for securing the established religion and rights and liberties of the people thereof, and all of other laws and statutes of the same now in force may be ratified and confirmed, and the law and the same are by His Majesty's, by and with the advice and consent of the said Lords Spiritual, Temporal and Commons, and by the authority and same are ratified and confirmed accordingly, right? Why is this all important? Because this is all still law. And the more people understand what's actually going on with these people, so I'm going to take you back to this book a sec, right? So we go through this, and that section there is really important again. I've already read it. So what led me on to show you them to the originals, namely the Magna Carta of Edward I, 1297. Now, if I go back to another book, which I don't think I've got out there. I think it is out there, but... What's it called? It is out there. No, not that one. It's this book. Oh, I know where it is. What's a dickhead? I've got it right behind me. Right. So let's pull this off the shelf a sec. So what I'm going to do now is go to the Halsby Statutes, 4th edition, volume 10, Constitutional Law, just to make sure that you're all aware of what this book is, right? So this is the Halsby's Statutes, right? And just to make sure, all I'm doing is showing you completely what it is, right? I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull that off of there and come back to it. Yeah, put it on there. And that way, you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about, hopefully. Right, so there it is there. Halsby Statutes, constitutional law. Why am I doing this? So you absolutely know that what I'm saying to you is completely and utterly correct, right? So again, in there, you've got the statute again, right? So what I'm trying to say to you is when you go to a court of law, because the way everyone keeps saying it's fine, Graham, but how do we get the judges to it? You need to know what this is, and you need to stand up in front of a judge, right, and have it written out as a case stated to say what it is. Now, if you look at that, it says an act declaring the rights and liberties of the subjects and setting the crown, and then it tells you what the short title is and the long title, etc. And it goes into the details. But what I'm going to do now is show you something else, which is constitutional law. In a minute. Petition of which is really important. Can you see that one there? That petition right, which is page 26. And the other one is, of course, the ancient charters, the Magna Carta of 1217, 1297. And there's the confirmation as well, right? So we're going to go for 26 and 14. 26 and 14, 26 and 14, 26 and 14. And then again, your historic documents says first 12.5. That's page. Magna Carta, the chart is really important. Another book as well. Third, page 3. And there it is on there, right? So one of the things that happened, Commonwealth, not time, should pertain to him all points. Let's see if I can find this on there for you, because this is important. The Smith 5/9, what's repealed it and what actually repealed it. And in there, that's what gives you, again, freedom of elections. And it says elections are null and void. They're still law if it's interfered with at all, right? But again, here is the Magna Carta of 1297. And it says in a number of, so let me just read that out to you. The Great Charter of the Liberties of England and the Liberties of the Forest, right? Charter of the Forest, confirmed by King Edward in the 25th year of his reign. Edward, by the grace of God, of England, Lord of Ireland, Duke of Guyenne, to all archbishops, bishops, etc. We have seen the great charter of the Lord Henry, sometimes King of England, his word. Right? The great Lord Duke of Normandy and Earl of Anjou, to all archbishops, bishops, abbots, earls, barons, officers, bailiffs, and other faithful subjects, which shall see the present charter, greeting, know ye that we, unto our honour Almighty God, and for the salvation of the souls of our and success, to the advancement of the Holy Church and our realm, of our mere and free will, have given and granted to all bishops, abbots, priests, barons, and to all free men of this our realm these liberties following, to be kept in our kingdom of England, right, forever, right? So again, I just want to make sure you get that. So below that, chapter 1, we have, and this charter have confirmed, us and our heirs forever, that the Church of England shall be free and shall have all her whole rights inviolate. We have all of our realm, for us and our heirs forever, these liberties underwritten, to have and to hold them and their heirs of us and our heirs forever. And all the charter is etc. Right. Most importantly, there is the chapter 9 that it talks about, which is still law. And there's lots of other bits, but I want to show you a couple more of these. There's one which is the confirmation of Charles. The reason I'm showing you this is because it references this in the other book, right? What I'm doing is showing you what it says, the Great Charter at Common Law, right? To wit. So what I'm going to do now is show you, hold that one. And then on the screen in a couple of minutes, so I'll have to pick that pen up because I'm like that. So showing you is where it mentions this there, right? So let me put that back down. Right, making you apologise. Just try to get this so everyone can see it, right? So again, namely the Magna Carta for the first had just shown it. The Petition of Right, 1627, it's in that book as well. The Bill of Rights, and they have amended or repealed, see paragraph 908. And there it goes in, it tells you everything it's doing. So again, what we're doing now is showing you the bottom part of this. If I can stretch it out a bit more. Bottom. Protection of the liberties of the subject, apart from the force of public opinion, right? So what happens if you in the cheat sheets of 1952, right? If you find something repugnant and you come out on the streets, the judges null and void, because it's their job to keep the peace, null and void the law that aggravated the people to that extent, right? So it is important to get out onto the streets. The liberties of the subject owe their main protection to, 1, the development of the action class in its various forms. Trespass is really important. And there's a particular reason for this, right? So what we're going to do is go on. I want to show you writ of facts. 3, the fact that the subject can insist upon having common law actions affecting in his treasured rights in his most, as well as all accusations of serious crime, random collectible act that in the case of sovereign wrong law and whose person is liable. 2, the protection to the judiciary while acting in their official capacity, and unless they do something completely, they go against their oath, and limited to the protection afforded by the magistrates and the police. All persons are equally subject to the jurisdictions of the court and may be liable for any infringement of the rights and liberties of others. And rule of construction. So this part has been labelled important. rule of construction that statutes and other legislative acts are so far as possible be interpreted so as not to cause any interference with vested rights of the subject. What does that mean? Vested rights of the subject or the Bill of Rights and our ancient laws going back through the Magna Act of Settlement, right? So all of that information is on there. And then if you go down a little bit further, you'll see another point that I've highlighted, which is section 10, right? It is clear that the burden is on those who seek to establish the legislature intends to take away the rights of individuals to show that by express words or necessary implications, such as intention appears, right? Now, if you remember later on, what's you got there is Polham Asylum District versus Hill, 1881. That's relying on this. But since then, Sir John Laws and the Metric Martyr case is actually highlighted that there is a hierarchy of laws and the Constitution is the highest. So it then says sources of civil liberties, right? Right to personal liberty, which again is enshrined in the Magna Carta, which is right. So I've always said to people, it isn't just about the Magna Carta, but it's an extremely important set of laws. Right to property. Now, one of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because, as we've got here, freedom of expression. Freedom of expression there incorporates both rights to receive and express ideas, information and secrecy of private communication. So no one's allowed to look at your private and communication. Just trying to take now. They're not allowed. Right? Again, there are, however, constraints imposed by law on this freedom with regard to matters which broadly fall within the bounds of blasphemy, obscenity, sedition, treason, the Official Secrets Act, insulting behaviour, to contempt of Parliament and defamation. Moreover, various crimes, for example, incitement, conspiracy, and blackmail, may well involve spoken communication. Freedom of expression incorporates of the press. There has been no censorship, everyone can laugh if they want, of the press since 1695, right? When Parliament refused to renew the Licensing Act 1662. Apart from the legal restrictions referred to above, the press is also subject to non-statutory constraints on freedom with notices. What does it mean by non-statutory? It's not in law. And it can be challenged, which is why the press, only if they fancy it, challenge a D notice. And an element of censorship restricts the freedom of view of radio. The censorship theatrical performance, Chamberlain has freedom of expression further be restricted in the case of individual by express or implied terms in his contract of employment, which is what a non-disclosure agreement is, right? But something else is freedom of conscience. Freedom involves freedom of religion, the right to manifest religion. Although the Church of England is by law established, only the sovereign, other than those who choose to be associated with it, is required to be a member of the church. Although certain religious disabilities may also attach to the office of Lord Chancellor. Public assemblies for religious worship of any religion are protected by law from disturbance. Although religious worship and instruction is an essential feature of the curriculum of the country, and schools parents may assist in their children. Right? We're getting to the right of public right of association, to the protection of the is crucially important. In other words, we are all equal under the law. But again, there's lots of references you can see in Carter and different bits for it. But principles of natural justice. There is a right to the protection afforded by the principles of natural justice where a person's interest may be affected by administrative action. Those principles are that a man may not be a judge in his own cause. Everyone understands that you can't judge someone when you're a party to it, right? And that no party should have a decision given against him unless he has been given a reasonable opportunity of putting forward his case. Violation of a person's rights may not be judged by the wrongdoer, all right? And then you've got freedom of discrimination, right? Discrimination. Petition, which is one that I brought up as I mean. The right to private property, social rights, but there's loads of these that we're going to get into. But the Crown is really important. And where was the next? Parliament's power to limit dissent. This is accession to Parliament, statutory conditions. There's another one that I wanted to show you. I've put these in a different way. There. Vacancy, right? So one of the things that's really important here that people need to understand it. Right, this is where I'm saying the book technically can be contradictory. You need to understand what it is, right? So don't forget this is constitutional law. Yes, by the way, you're rocking and rolling because this is really important, and it's the way we're going to be talking about this in the future, and how we're writing the book is from our perspective, not from the state perspective. We haven't got any barristers to represent the Constitution. Is don't know, does what I do, right? So not statutory limitations, the prerogative somewhat vague. It has been found necessary at various times to define its limits more accurately by statute. The principle from a law is observed and or right. They are trained statutory limitations. Right. This part is crucially important. These statutes must not be regarded as curtailments of existing prerogatives, but as declarations of fundamental laws. Right? Because everyone. So number one, the prerogative may also, in effect, be in abeyance where statute is enacted provisions which might have been under the prerogative. Now, what's really important here is people need to understand cannot abrogate his prerogative to assent or dissent, even though he hasn't dissented to law. Technically, the Crown hasn't. 7th, right? But again, at section 2 here, and it's really important, these are Magna Carta of Edward I. So remember, I said that the statutes of and liberty and Crown, Minister. These are Carta the First, 1297, the Petition of Right, 1627, Bill of Rights, 1688. So the Petition of Right is what gives you the absolute right to serve a writ on the Crown for wrongdoing, and no taxation without representation, and to petition the Crown, right, of your grievances. The Bill of Rights of 16, again, there's plenty of people in the background that don't talk about the Bill of Rights, and they should do, confirmed by the Crown and Recognition settlement. Nation Oath Act. The Magna Carta was first assented to by King John in 1215. It was confirmed and sometimes extended, but more frequently curtailed, right? Well, I'm saying Parliament can never do that, right? It can't curtail the original charter because of the jurisdiction of Parliament. The confirmation reissue in 1297, known as the Magna Carta of Edward I, 1297, which still goes in a bit more, but there's also the confirmation, confirming charters, namely in the statute Edward information. All of the information, and there's a big list of it, right, is there, tells you that you have not only constitutional rights, but constitutional statutes and charters that limit Parliament, right? Constitution can do. And if it does affects your rights, it must put it on the face of the bill, right? As to the subsequent amendments and repeals of the Magna Carta, the Petition of Rights and the Bill of Rights, which it was not allowed to do, right? We're going to go through that at another stage. But limitations by the Magna Carta, coerce, did COVID, or coerce the subject into in an arbitrary manner. No free man may be taken or imprisoned or deceased of his freehold, liberties, or free customs, or to be outlawed in any wise manner, nor may be or be sold, denied, or delayed. Justice, Act, so free justice is important. Right? But freedom of press, laws may not be suspended in this current law. Taxation, no taxation without representation. There's a number of cases in here, and there's also cases from there. And then you've started to list out the Standing Army, Bill of Rights, of soldiers, and Parliament or its ministers are restrained from rule out of Parliament, since it is enacted that the redress of all grievances and for the amending, strengthening, preserving of laws, Parliament ought to be held frequently, right? So, I mean, what's known as martial law. Election, the Crown may not interfere with the election of members of Parliament, which ought to be, as I've said earlier, freedom of and freedom by the Statute of Westminster 1275, Bill of Rights in common law, and it is the common law that will control election. It's so understood. Interfere with an election. The person who is currently responsible is someone called the returning officer, who acts as the king's direct servant. They're not the CEO of the council, right? And that is why a single elector can sue them, because of any reason. You need to complain. It doesn't matter whether you voted in the election, as long as you are a registered elector, right? You must be a registered elector, and you can bring, as a single elector, a case against, in the election petitions court, against the returning officer. The impeachment part here, at 917, the Crown is restrained from shielding its ministers and servants by means of pardons from parliamentary inquiry into illegal acts. right? For no pardon under the Great Seal is pleadable to an impeachment by the Commons in Parliament, but a pardonment may be granted after sentence, right? Foreigners, and again, subjection to the law. So again, I've showed you this last night, but I will show it to you again. Claims made by the Crown cannot be supported by mere pretence of prerogative, since the courts have no power to determine the extent and the legality of otherwise of any alleged prerogative, nor may illegal acts be rendered justifiable by the plea of the sovereign's commands or state necessity. The Crown was bound to observe the law both by statute and the terms of the Coronation Oath Act, which is why the Crown, at any time, and we can go back to this and we should do, cannot change the Coronation Oath Act, cannot change the English Bill of Rights, and it was changed in 1858 and it was changed in 1948. It's not allowed to be touched, right? And that is where they've started making demands that they are sovereign. And again, if you look at that at the top there, which embodies the contract between the Crown and the people upon which the title to the Crown originally depended, right? So again, I'll go back in there. You've seen the rest of the information in there, but the right to petition in cases where no legal act has been committed and consequently no action lies, but where the subject deems himself unduly oppressed by the sentence of a judge or the conduct of an official, the law of the Constitution has provided a remedy by petition to the Crown. The exercise of this right cannot be denied, since it is a right of the subject to petition the sovereign, and all commitments and prosecutions for so petitioning are illegal. Bill of Rights, and again, all that information is in there. All right. So what I'm doing currently, I just want to make sure you are getting this. I'll go back to my normal screen for a second. I'll put that on there. I'll pick up my pen before I tread on it, and I get ink everywhere. So the objective of the book is to write this out. I don't know how to do it, not necessarily in story form, but I think people. So this is where I ask the audience, right? Because I really need help from you, how you want me to explain it. So this is going to be the first time in probably 200 years that a subject of the realm has written a book on the Constitution and how to claim your rights back, right, and push forward. So you will need to know, for example, what forms to use, how you present the case, whether you ask for. You tell me what you need from the book. But we need people. We're just going to stick to constitutional rights and common law rights. And in that book, we're going to educate people, because barristers are not doing it for you, right? You got that other book again, that big one there. It's only because there's a massive, great big hole behind me. It's getting on my tits. There you go. So just so you know, that isn't a green screen either. So you tell me what you need from that, and how many of you would actually do that. Where's Neil 56? Is he out there or is he on holiday? Bloody marvellous, Graham, right? Neil Russell, Taffy Pat, hello Flower. Grasshopper, what version of Halsbury's Law is this? So you've got this, the 4th edition. The 5th edition is the latest one. They're very expensive, but there's no changes to our constitutional laws as such. But that you got 2 books. One is Halsbury's Laws of England, which technically is the common law, and then Halsbury's Statutes of England, right? So let me see if I can see them. So these brown ones here are the Halsbury's Laws of England, right? And these ones here are the Halsbury Statutes of England. But we're concentrating on the fundamental law, which is constitutional law and constitutional rights, but from the point of view of the subject of the realm. Let me have a look. Anything? Thetford Freedom Festival. Let me go and have a look and see if I can find that for you as well. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find this here. English Constitution Society. No, not that one. That's the one. See, that comes up really well, I think. Let me see. Up and coming events. So I'm going to push this over to here and go back over and show you this. There it is. Let's see if I can copy that over. Put that in there. All right. Yeah, barristers in general don't. I'm not. They're not assisting you at all, right? Which is absolutely disgusting what these people have been doing. So events calendar. Hopefully, this is going to show you on the other screen, right? So there it is there. Thetford Truth and Freedom. I'm going to be there from Thursday night. So I'm driving up on Thursday. I'm going to be there Friday, Saturday and Sunday, and then probably coming home Sunday. Might have to stay at your mum's on Sunday. And then we'll go and pop in and see my dad on a Monday.
Yeah.
Freedom. So there it is there. July 17th. So it's 17th. It's on Thursday, Friday. So Thursday night I'm going to get there. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It finishes Sunday. There it is. So if you want more details, you hit that button. You can go and book and go on that. There it is. I think that was a picture of me last time I've done that event.
I give you a toast, ladies and gentlemen. May this fair land we love so well, in dignity and freedom dwell. The worlds may change and go awry, while there is still one voice to cry. There'll always be an England, while there's a country lane. Wherever there's a cottage small, beside a field of grain, there'll always be an England, while there's a busy street. Wherever there's a turning wheel, a million marching feet.
Relax with live bands, singers, and a resident DJ. Camping pitches for tents or vehicles, with or without hookups, are available at a reduced rate for festival goers. Book directly with the Angel Inn on 01953 717963 with street food, festival stalls, and real ales. All for just £20 a ticket. This is more than a festival. It's a gathering inspired by the spirit of Thomas Paine. The Thetford Truth and Freedom Festival, July 17th and 18th. Don't miss it.
The English Constitution is the solution to the law books.
So let me see if I can go back to that one. So I've just played you that on there. Hopefully you can see. Click here for tickets. So that's 17th, 18th, 19th. Is it in this Great Reset or can't work? That's not that one. Thetford Truth and Freedom Festival. Tells you where it is. Last entry. Age restrictions, no age limits. And again, there it all is there. So Graham Moore is there. Oh, look, it's telling you who's speaking. I didn't know that. That was on there. I'm not 100% sure who's on this, but more guest speakers to be announced. But so far we have confirmed Graham Moore, otherwise known as Daddy Dragon, with the Constitution is the solution. Andrew Bridgen, ex-Tory MP, who is a patriot, a truth teller and a freedom fighter. Kaylee Spell from Dark Matters with Words of Magic and the Quest to Enlightenment. Kimberly Isherwood and the Girls from Public Child Protection Wales. George H. Lewis, the famous astrologist, sound healer and artist speaker. Harry Rhodes, Neil Petrie. Let's have a look. Liz Phillips. I don't know if Liz Phillips is still going or not, but she's lovely. Ben Hawkes, Daniel D, The People's Resistance, Liverpool Calling, VV Movement, an Italian non-violent force standing for truth. I don't know what that means. Fergus O'Connor, all for 188 degrees. Thetford Truth and Freedom in the footsteps of Thomas Paine. Richard Cumbers, Energy Medicine Solutions for a Toxic World. You're not sick, you're toxic. Michael Dowling, music, and there's all sorts. So there it is. And again, there's one there. The Thetford Truth and Freedom Movement, including Thetford Stand in the Park, Thetford Council Watch and Patriots at police stations, will be organising the year's annual Truth and Freedom Festival at the Angel Inn, Larley, Norfolk. Everyone should go to this. It's fantastic. NR16 2QU, extended by popular demand to Friday, Saturday and Sunday, July 2026. Just like last year, we planned for like-minded souls to come together and create 3 days of high-frequency vibrations in the lovely surroundings of Larlin Angel for the great price of £20 a ticket or £22 a ticket. I can't remember what it is now. But there it is. And then you can go all on there and go and have a look and see what it is. And remember, it's a spiritual war. Freedom. Let me see if I can stop sharing. Right, that's it, isn't it? That's it. Good night. God bless. I've got to work out what I'm doing. I've got to do a load of stuff tomorrow. I've got to pack up all the gear and get it up there. We've got some new banners to unveil there tomorrow. I don't know if I'm setting the camera up or not. I don't even know what I'm wearing. But that's me. I'm not the most organised person as it is. Any questions from anyone? Change my picture. They are trying to force illegal people into Thetford now. Yeah, they are. There's a lot going on. Here's the Hamlin lectures. Loads to read about and learn. Yeah, that's another thing that I've got to tell people about. Hope you have a lovely time at the festival is ever going. Anything else? Neil Russell. Thank you, Graham. Luke, 1956, how you doing, son? Mr. and Mrs. English is out there. Tracy Truism. That's it. Good night. God bless to everyone. I will see you tomorrow evening, 8 p.m. Good night. God bless. And don't forget what I believe in. The Constitution is the solution.